All right, high rollers, this is a first for me and a first for poker. According to her website, our guest today believes personal style, that being a true fashionista at the table is a prerequisite to playing good. And she does that. She's a poker professional, but it's fair to say she's making headlines for another reason. She is the founder of the LGBT Poker Tour and poker's first known transgender pro. Michelle Nastasis, our guest today. Michelle, welcome to the show. Thanks for being our high roller today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be on the radio.
So you're in Nevada right now, and I understand things are pretty hectic out there today.
Yeah, we had a little bit of weather issues around here yesterday and the day before, but that's nothing totally abnormal for being in Reno in the wintertime. And the main reason why I'm out here is not for the weather or for the skiing up in Tahoe, but I have some tournaments coming up here in Reno over the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, you're there for the Lips Nevada State Ladies Poker Championship, WPT Deep Stack, and also Jason Somerville's Run It Up Reno.
You betcha. And I don't know if you know that much about Jay Carver, a.k.a. Jason Somerville, but Jason got his start in professional poker here in Reno.
I didn't know that, so that's why he goes back there. He sort of gives back to that little community, right?
Oh, yes. The biggest little city in the world.
So tell me about Run It Up Reno, because I do watch Somerville's Twitch stream. He's always talking about it. The people that go there really have a good time, and I know it's an open, fun atmosphere while you're there.
Oh, very much so. And it also helps that the venue that it's held at is a world-class facility, not only from an aesthetics point of view, but also from a poker point of view. The people that run the poker side of the house at the Peppermill Resort here in Reno are world-class people. Mike, the poker room manager, and Kathy, one of his chief lieutenants, are two very, very good friends of mine personally, as well as professionally. And we're talking about amenities galore at the Peppermill. I mean, it ranks right up there with anything that you would find in Las Vegas. I mean, it is a true world-class resort casino.
I've heard nothing but good things about the Peppermill and Jason Somerville's Run It Up Reno as well. Understandably, he's quite open and inviting at this tournament. He's really open to the fans, right? He accepts them in, he'll answer their questions, he'll talk to them.
Yeah. In fact, a couple of years ago, when I participated in my first Run It Up Reno, it was funny because I was there just to take notes, and I was doing my prep work because I was going to play in the main. And Jason saw me sitting, guess it was about in the second or third row, and calls me out, and he said, Michelle, come on up here a second. Come on up here a second. And I want to get you involved in this. And for the next 45 minutes, we're doing nothing but talking poker, and he had his slideshow that he had put together for the thing. And here he is. He's getting me involved in asking me questions, and then the audience got me involved with answering their questions about the particular hand involved. And that was one of the big steps in my quote-unquote coming out party as a named professional. And that kind of opened the door to probably one of my closest friends in poker, and him becoming my coach and mentor, and that is the late Terry Ring, and the fabulous series that he put together called One Hand at a Time. And Terry introduced me to the one-hand system, and I've taken the banner with his untimely passing last year and basically become the national brand ambassador for the one-hand system.
Tell me about this coming out, because the reason we're talking today is you are poker's first known transgender pro. You've got a very interesting story. By the way, the website is michellenastasis.com, michellenastasis.com, and I know you're revamping that site as well.
Yes. The girls at Three Girls Media, Erica Taylor Montgomery and Danielle Winsky are my two go-to people. With them, they're doing a total revamp of the website, freshening up the pages and making it more search engine friendly and all of that. But being transgender, you would think that at the table that I would get a lot of negative feedback, so to speak. And yes, I did have to put up with that at the beginning. And then all of a sudden, people sit down and say, hey, wait a minute, this girl can play. She's not just a guy in a dress trying to get a discount or a guy in a dress trying to pretend that she's not. This girl can play. And case in point, about 2 weeks ago, I was just playing in a little local tournament here in Reno, just basically for practice. I love going over to this little place here in downtown Reno, and I love going in there just to play in their daily tournament for practice. I'm not going to get rich playing there, but it's a good thing. And I guess we're in level 6, level 7, something like that. I look down and I have ace, king of spades, and I'm in the hijack. So, as everybody on the face of the planet knows, ace, king, and the hijack is pretty stout. There was 2 limpers in front of me, so I opened with my standard re-raise, and that's usually 3.5x the big, and both of the limpers came along for the ride. The flop comes down in this exact order: queen of spades, jack of spades, 10 of spades.
Wow.
And the dealer made the comment that, wouldn't it be funny if somebody's holding ace, king of spades right now? The 2 limpers, they opened because they both had flush draws. And I said, okay, I'm going to come along for the ride. Turn card comes, doesn't help them. So they checked. I bet out very, very small. I put in a min raise, and both of them came along. The river card comes, another spade. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to get fun. Sure enough, both of them jammed the pot. Both of them just shoved. And I didn't even think twice about it. I mean, I acted in probably about 4.4 seconds and said, call, flip over the ace king, and needless to say, the entire poker room went completely you-know-what. And then the general manager of the casino comes up. He's taking pictures. Then they announce it on the overhead speakers that somebody had just flopped a royal flush up in the poker room. And then for good measure, I also took home the high hand jackpot for that day, which was a little over $3,000. So it made it a profitable day after all. Yeah, I have had royals playing live before, but I had never flopped a royal. And I decided to do some quick research to find out about this flop royal. And I found out that the odds of flopping an exact match of what you need, say if you have ace queen or ace 10, then you have a complete fill-in, the odds are approximately 2.8 billion to 1.
Wow.
I'm thinking, okay, we'll take this.
Well, you talk about the poker community and the fact that you were congratulated throughout the poker room and throughout the casino. You've obviously faced some hurdles, right? I know you were a trucker before. Can you talk about when the transition happened and how you've been accepted, not only in poker, but in the outside world as well?
Sure. I have known that there was something off about me since I was a kid. I could never put my hand directly on it until I happened to take part in an experiment at the University of Kansas where they were going to take otherwise normal males, dress them as females, and send them back to their jobs. Well, I was teaching at a company-sponsored truck driving school and showed up the next day dressed as a woman, scared half out of my mind, and all of a sudden I realized that, hey, wait a minute, this is the most comfortable I've ever been in my life. And went back, talked to the handlers at KU, and they said, what you just experienced is what's called gender dysphoria. And gender dysphoria, basically translated into good old-fashioned East Texas English, means that you feel like you were born in the wrong body. And that's exactly the way that I felt up until that point. And now that I could put my hand on it, I could start to do things about it. So I started lightly by dressing as a woman. And yes, I had the full love and support of my family, my immediate family, and that being my wife and my kids.
That's important, right, to have that support?
Oh, yeah. Without that support, your chances of not only living happily, but your chances of survival go down. Oh, just some of the numbers that I have heard are just frightening on what happens if you don't have that love and support. Yeah, let's face it, both of my careers have been in traditionally male-dominated worlds. As a trucker, yeah, I faced a lot of bias that way, but I learned to keep my mouth shut, keep my head down, and do my job. And as a poker player, yeah, I heard a lot of the negative comments, and my most favorite one is the one that goes, "Oh, look, it's a guy in a dress trying to get a discount." And then they found out very quickly that the quote-unquote guy in the dress can actually play a little bit, and that changes the tune real quick. That kind of brings me full circle around to something that happened when I was playing in a tournament. Actually, it was an HPT tournament in Fresno at Club 1 in downtown Fresno, and we were down to like I guess about 5 or 6 left, and I was short stacked, and all of a sudden caught a quick timely double up through the chip leader, and 2 hands later I doubled through him again, and about 4 or 5 hands later I ended up knocking him out of the tournament, and he was needless to say upset, and he turns completely around as he's walking out the door, and at the time I was a blonde, so you have to bear with the analogies here. He goes, "That blonde B-word just won't die. She's a pain in the you-know-what to play against." My first reaction was to get angry, and then I realized that he was actually paying me a compliment. And then I saw him about a month later, actually here in Reno, and I saw him, and I walked up to him and I said hello, and he goes, "Hey, how's my favorite blonde bee doing?" And we turned it from a potentially negative something into actually something that has turned completely around, and is very, very nice to have that kind of in your corner, so to speak.
Well, at times it must be tough for you, especially if you hear an under-your-breath comment or something like that, some stereotype, some kind of negative comment that an opposing player will make. And let's face it, you are in a male-dominated industry. Poker, I think, 5-10% women. How do you handle it? How do you stay off tilt? What's the best remedy? Is it simply to stack them?
Yeah, I'm going to quote Amarillo Slim here on this one. You know what my favorite chip trick is?
What's that?
To make their chips disappear.
Well, listen, I got to ask you this. In poker, your philosophy, it says on your website, on close, is not based on sex or sex appeal. It's based on one cold, hard fact that men are visual creatures. Are you trying to play men at the poker table?
Why not? The average male, and I'm going to quote Maria Bello from the movie Coyote Ugly, the average male is walking around with a toddler in his pants. Okay? The average male is going to look at a blonde wearing a dress and high heels very, very quickly.
So you use that then?
Of course. In fact, one of my Instagram posts from the other day sums it up beautifully. Don't fight your curves at the table. Embrace them.
Embrace your curves.
Embrace your curves. Embrace your curves.
There's some solid advice, folks. The website is michellenastasis.com. Okay, so let me play devil's advocate. You've got the website, you're revamping it. You've come out as poker's first transgender pro. Some skeptics might say that you're doing this for publicity. You found poker and there are no transgenders. Hey, let me capitalize. I know your friends and family and your close associates know it's all about poker, but what do you say to the skeptics that are listening to this today?
Very simple. You'd like to play poker? That's fine. The ATM is over there. Come join me at the table and we'll see who's better.
Well, besides taking money off people at the poker table, what's your long-term goal? Again, the website, michellenastasis.com. I've been there. It's very informative. What do you plan to do with this? You want to take it more public? Because there are some issues. I know in the States, one of the big issues is the public washroom deal for transgenders. What's your take on that, and what's your goal with this?
My goal is, I'm going to go take this 2 different directions here. The first direction that I want to take this is to raise awareness about transgender, about being trans in a male-dominated industry. That's number 1. That's number 1 on my professional list. My second thing on my professional list is that I want to become the first openly transgender man or woman to win a major U.S. poker tournament. And by the majors, I mean win a bracelet.
Right.
Win a WPT national or a deep stacks tournament. Win an HPT. Win an MSPT. And I've come close. My best finish is a 4th. And that led me to getting involved with the late Terry Ring and the one hand at a time system. Terry pulled me aside and he said, you've got all kinds of talent. You just don't know how to harness it yet. He said, if you learn this system, you will definitely have the tools necessary to take it and win a bracelet, win a circuit series ring, win an HPT, win a WPT. He said, I can see that in you. And case in point, last year, I made a deep run, and I had not even fully embraced the one-hand system. I made a deep run at last year's Nevada State Ladies Poker Championship, and I had only been exposed to the system maybe 6 weeks. I didn't even have the full system installed yet, and turned around and made a deep run in one of the first tournaments that I entered.
Okay, I got to ask you, what's the one-hand system?
Okay, it is a system for playing deep stack tournaments, and most people play deep stack tournaments completely backwards. The way that we teach is this: small pots played in position with premium cards early in the tournament. And that's the key difference between the way most people think. That, oh, wait a minute, I get a pocket pair once every 17 hands. I've got to push and shove, and winning is the only thing. And no. Accumulate chips, because the more chips you accumulate in the early stages, the better off you are in the middle stages. And then once you're in the middle stages, then you can start to open up the aggression meter a little bit. But there's also other tools involved that the vast majority of people don't know how to use. And those tools are some of the most unique things that you will encounter. Do you know what is called a $5 bet? Do you know what a donk bet is? And also, there's a series of questions that we teach our students to ask every single stage of a hand, whether you're involved or not. Because, let's face it, information is key. The more information that you have at the table, the better off you are going to be. Then, on top of everything else, you're able to use that information for your own advantage. How do you use it for your own advantage? It's all about accumulating chips. And along with that, there are the negatives that come in with it. How do you handle going on what we call negative tilt? How do you handle that big rush that you get, and all of a sudden you lose situational awareness? And all of a sudden that big rush becomes, hey, wait a minute, I just had this big stack of chips in front of me and I was doing great and blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, you're down to the felt, you're down to a chip and a chair and a prayer. Well, how do you handle positive tilt? How do you handle situations where you're running great and you're on that high? Well, Dr. Donna Blevins, I think the world of Donna, and she and I agreed on one thing, that mindset matters. You must stay in the moment. You must stay in the here and now, and it doesn't matter if you're running bad or you're running scalding hot great. You must stay in the moment. From the moment that you sit down to the moment that you get up at a break or when you come back, what are the things that you can do to help you play better after the break? What are the things that you can do as a poker player to help you stay in the moment? And those are the things that we teach day in, day out. And I am a big believer in, and I know this is going to ruffle a lot of your listeners' feathers, I am a big believer in psychology over math. If I can intimidate you at the table, the math goes out the window.
Right.
And I have been accused of this, and I take full ownership of it. I have been accused of having the scariest stare in poker.
Hey, that's not a bad moniker. That's not a bad moniker at all. The scariest stare in poker. I love it.
And I can stare you down and make you feel uncomfortable. Not only because I'm a woman in a dress and high heels, but when I turn towards you and I just start staring lasers at you, your first instinct is to start to shrink a little bit and start to look around and say, hey, wait a minute, do I have a piece of toilet paper? Do I have a piece of greens from that salad that I had at the break hanging off of me. What's going on here? So, yeah, that stare, plus the fact that I dress to impress at the table.
Real quick, Michelle, we're running out of time here. Tell me about hashtag Team Michelle Nastasis.
That's for my fans, my fan club. In fact, we just hired a new president of it. Her name is Danielle Sedona Marion, and she will be joining us full-time as the full-time president for the fan club, starting when the Lips Tour arrives here for the Nevada State. The fan club itself will be opening up to general membership on the 15th of March, and there's all kinds of other bonuses that will come along with it, including a yearly drawing for a 2-hour private session with me so that I can teach you some of the basics of the one-hand system.
I got to get political here. I mentioned the public bathroom issue. Do you have thoughts on that?
I do, and I will say this, that my friends in North Carolina, in Texas, and a few other states that are considering putting the transgender community in a corner, okay, remember, there's over 300,000 of us, and we are loud, we are out, and we are visible. Case in point, the acclaimed actress, and I have met this lady, and I think the world of her, and she is leading the fight for transgender rights in this country, and that is the acclaimed actress from the CBS series Doubt, and also on the Netflix series Orange is the New Black, and that is my good friend Laverne Cox. And it's not about whether we want to go to the bathroom. It's about basic human rights, and I try to stay away from it, but every once in a while I get fired up about it, and then I'll make a political statement. But for the most part, because I am in a very visible position, I will make my statements every once in a while, and that's one of the statements that I make, that this isn't about whether we want to go pee or not. This is about basic human rights.
Exactly. Well, listen, really appreciated this today. Very informative. She's at Michelle Nastasis on Twitter. MichelleNastasis.com is the website. Hashtag Team Michelle Nastasis coming in March. It's a brand new website coming soon too, and you can also check out at 3 Girls Media, the executive director and founder of the LGBT Poker Tour and Poker's first transgender pro. Thank you so much for your time today. Good luck with all your goals, and I hope you win that bracelet this summer at the Rio.
Marvin Carlins and I, we have a standing side bet who's going to get their first bracelet, me or him. And then he's going to throw the party for me, and I'll throw the party for him when the two of us meet up in Vegas this summer. So I thank you for letting me talk a little bit about me today, and I look forward to hearing some comments from your listeners. And thanks, guys. I appreciate everything that you're doing for poker.